Okay, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about and explaining the lyrics behind my new song. It's called Mommy, which comes out March 31st, and I hope you guys pre-save it when the link will be in the description. Okay, so I'm probably going to go through this kind of fast. I've already filmed this video once and couldn't use any of the footage because I just couldn't use any of it. So hopefully you guys can hear me good. I'm just gonna go through the lyrics and explain them to you guys. So let's get into it. So the first line is, she said that we don't have to hug. She said that I don't have to love. So those two lines stemmed from when I used to go to therapy with my mother. That was probably in sophomore, freshman year of high school. And that was because my parents got divorced when they started getting divorced when I was in middle school, and it ended it when I was in sophomore year. And one of the conditions of like them being divorced or something like from the judge was that I had to go to therapy with my mother. So I went to therapy with her, and I remember I was in therapy. I was crying about something. I don't really remember the story that I was telling, but I was crying, and then the therapist asked me if I wanted my mom to give me a hug, and then I said no. And the therapist then asked my mother, how does that make you feel that your daughter doesn't want to give you a hug? And she said, we don't have to hug. It's fine, whatever, it's not a big deal. And that was really, I don't know, you would just think, in my mind then at least, I was like, you would think she would care that her own daughter doesn't want to touch her, doesn't want to look at her, doesn't want to talk to her, doesn't want to hug her. So that definitely stuck with me. I think about that a lot, that she said that she doesn't care that I didn't want to hug her. So I thought it would be fitting to put it in the first line of the song because it's pretty representative of the pre-chorus and the chorus, which is what I wrote first. And then the next line, she said that I don't have to love. When I was growing up, she would say to me a lot, like, we don't have to be friends, you don't have to like me, I'm not one of your little friends, stuff like that. So she was constantly like saying, it doesn't matter, you know, I'm not here to be your friend, I'm not here to be comfort to you, like I'm just here to parent you and be your mother. So that definitely stuck with me. I never felt like that she even wanted to like whatever. Anyway, moving on. The next line is, and when she took my wrist and pushed me against the wall, the look on her face made me afraid of who she was. That comes from the time that she did that. She asked me if I wanted to go to the store with her. I said no. She went to get ready to go to the store. She came back and asked me again, do you want to go to the store with me? I said no. And then she pushed me against the wall and was like, oh really? Like you don't want to go to the store with me? That's fine. I'll go by myself. Sorry if you can hear, they're like cleaning a car over there. And that stuck with me. Till this day, I don't understand why she did that because like there was many times when I didn't go to the store with her. I don't understand why she was so upset that I didn't want to go to the store with her, that she did that and created that traumatizing moment. Like I just don't understand. I brought that up to her in therapy and stuff, and she would always just be like, I don't remember that happening, like I don't recall. So I don't know, I just felt like it was important to add because seeing her face, like seeing her, remembering her doing that, I really felt like in that moment, like who are you? Like I don't understand what you're doing, I'm afraid of you right now. And then the next one is, and it's all okay, 'cause it's all in my head, and it's all my fault that my tears have stained the bed. So that comes from what I just said, how I would bring up moments that she would do certain things and she would always deny them or gaslight me and say like, that never happened, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't recall. So I would always just be like, oh, it's all okay because this is just in my head, like apparently it never happened, so it doesn't matter. And then feeling like these things were my fault because I was always upset, like I was constantly crying about things and constantly crying when I would talk to her. And so I would always try so hard not to cry and get angry at myself for being upset. This is my fault because I can't control my emotions. That's how I felt a lot of the time, so that's why I added those two lines. And then moving on to the pre-chorus, and the chorus is, when I think of my mother, I think of a God holding me captive but not in her arms. That line, sorry, oh my gosh, they're being so loud and I can't move my car, so I apologize. That's why it's taking me so long to make this video. But basically just means that when I think of my mother, I don't think of a protector. I think of a guard that is like holding me hostage in a sense. Like when I was growing up, I really felt like I was stuck in this bad situation. I would always think like, oh, when I'm 16, I'm gonna run away. When I'm 16, I'm gonna move out. Just constantly wanting to just escape her. So that's where that line comes from. And I needed to put that in there because I wanted people to understand that it was like, this is not like, oh, I think of a guardian angel. Like, no. Then the next line is, when I think of her voice. I think of a siren constantly sounding after pulling the alarm. That is from when I think of her voice. She's very loud when she's angry, when she's happy. She's just loud. She has a loud voice, and she would just yell all the time. Yelling, whether it was just like, oh, come and eat dinner, was like a yelling, or when she was angry, just yelling at my dad, yelling at my sister, yelling at me. Her voice was just not pleasant. And even when she was happy, sometimes it would come after her being angry at me, so it was just like, I don't want to hear your voice because you just yelled at me and now you like want to be like my friend. It was just weird. So I thought that was like a fitting way to describe that, and I really wanted to put that in there. Then the next line is, I'm anxious and broken because of her words. I'll never get back the time I spent putting her first. That comes from right after like the divorce, you know, visiting her and all that stuff, like therapy. I was so anxious, depressed. I just really felt anxious and broken because my experiences with her, the things she would say to me, how she would gaslight me, the line, I'll never get back the time I spent putting her first, mainly has to do with like therapy. I really still feel like that was a waste of time because obviously it didn't mend my relationship with her, and she didn't want to be there. Like and I didn't want to be there, so I won't put the blame on her, but like it wasn't like, I didn't feel like she was like, this is good for us because we will work through this. Like, I really want to mend my relationship with my daughter. It was just like neither of us wanted to be there. It was obvious. The other meaning was like how I would give her the benefit of the doubt in situations that I shouldn't have been giving her the benefit of the doubt. And I would always just think like, oh, if I just ask her for this, she'll do it because she's my mom. Or like if she would tell me something that wasn't true, and then I would go to my dad and be like, oh, you know, I understand because this, and he would be like, well, that's not true. And I'd be like, well, why did she just lie to me? Like, I don't understand, like, why she wouldn't lie to me. She's my mom. But it's like, okay, but she would lie to you. Like, she doesn't care. And the last line of that is, when I think of my mother, I'm often in tears, cause she is the reason for all of my fears. Fears, I used fears because it rhymes with tears. Insecurity, like, doesn't work there, but that is kind of what I mean. Like, how I'm super insecure, how I'm always seeking validation, how I always want everyone to like me. And I feel like this huge loss when anyone feels any hatred or like animosity towards me. Like, it really, really affects me. And I'm super anxious about that and super like conscious of how I look, and like all those insecurities I really feel like stem from growing up in that environment where she was very this way, and like my dad was very like, you know, reassuring and all this stuff and like really nice. My mom was just like the opposite of that. So having that like weird dynamic, and then feeling in the middle and feeling like I want her approval, but also I feel like she doesn't like me. I just feel like a lot of my problems stem from that. So I felt like it was important to communicate that at the end of that verse. And then going into the mommy, why don't you want me? That is kind of representative of how I felt when I was really young, like 6 or 7. Like, I really just felt like she didn't like me and she didn't want me because she was always so nice around every other kid. Like, all my classmates would talk about her like, oh, I love your mom so much. She's my favorite. She's so cute. You're so lucky. And I didn't understand why she could act like that around them and not around me. So I felt like she just really didn't care about me. Like, she just really didn't love me. Moving on to the second verse. How does it feel to be alone? To call and a text once every year to ask me home. So obviously, I don't live with my mother anymore, so she's alone. I just wonder, I'm like, how do you feel now that you have, like, we don't have a relationship. We don't talk. Whenever my mom texts me or calls me, it's like, pick this up from my house. I have mail for you. I have clothes that you left here. But it's never like, I miss you. Come over, bestie. Like, it's never that. One time she did write me a letter saying, I miss you, like during this pandemic. But it was because I wrote her a letter in this pandemic at the top of it, like when it started. And I wrote her this letter about how I deal with my stress and stuff. She sent me this letter in a card. I miss you. I can't wait till we can get together. And I was like, oh wow, that's really nice of her. I open it up, and inside is my letter to her, marked with like punctuation, spelling errors. She marked it up grammar wise, and then she put all these points like, you didn't indent here. We talked about this. You need to work on your writing skills because you're not going to get a job when you have such poor grammar and sentence structure. She sent that in her letter to me. So it was like, I'm looking at the front, reading it like it says, I miss you, I love you, can't wait till we can see one another. And then I open it and it's that. And I just started sobbing, like, oh my gosh, how cruel of you. Like, honestly, how ridiculous of you. So, I don't know, I just went on that tangent, but yeah, that's where those lines come from. And then the next line, do you ever hurt or cry or care I'm not around? Do you not regret the little contact we have now? Do you not care? Do you even have any regrets? Really is what I'm saying to her in those lines. I don't think she does, but moving on. Then the chorus again, and then the last line, you know, mommy, why don't you want me? It originally had at the end, mommy, will you ever want me? But I took that out because I just felt like, it's just like, it's not even like, I don't know, I just took that out. But that is the song. I hope that you guys will pre-save it and listen to it when it comes out on March 31st. I hope that anyone who has a bad relationship with their mother can get something out of the song or just feel related to it, something that they can listen to just know that your feelings are valid. A lot of people don't have a great relationship with their mother, and it doesn't mean that you're weird or a bad person or anything. It doesn't mean that you're any less of a person or you have any less of a family just because you don't have a relationship with your mom. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to pre-save, link in the description. Get excited for the release on March 31st. Thank you so much for all the people who subscribe to my channel. I hope you'll stay subscribed after this video. If you don't, then I'm sad to see you go, but I'm thankful that you did subscribe just so you could see this video. I will see you guys next time.